Hello again, Jim Dowson here, guest presenter with the Templar Report. This is Memorial Day today, and I would just like to convey on behalf of the Knights Templar International Order worldwide our heartfelt thanks and gratitude for those brave Americans who laid down their life in defence of freedom for the free world. And, you know, not all wars are perfect, and not all wars, we're looking back on them, were particularly great ideas, but it makes no difference to the soldier. The soldier does what he's told, and that's how it is. And we think of the thousands upon thousands of young men who lost their lives in defence of their country, of their freedom, of their governments, and we remember that each one of those men are somebody's son, somebody's husband, somebody's brother, and that's the real tragedy. So today, I would like to say to our American brethren, especially to the mothers, because it was the mothers who gave birth and raised those sons who went off and lost their life. Thank you very much. We appreciate it, and we know that you gave a part of yourself as your son was killed in conflict, and we appreciate it. We really do. So, you know, do what you have to do today. Make sure you spend time to remember those who are no longer with us, for those who gave up their young lives with their lives in front of them. Most people who die in wars are between 19 and 22. It sounds ridiculous, but that's how it is. So to the fathers and to the mothers who gave us their sons, we appreciate it very, very deeply. And we as an organisation fight on because of the legacy that they've left. And we must never down tools or roll over, because too much blood has been spilled to give us these freedoms. And you can take it from me, the Templars will never give those freedoms up. Never, unless we're lying dead in the gutter. Okay, I'd like to also go on today to give you a report on how the European elections went. Very interesting. Across Europe there was a bit of rise in the right-wing populist. And let me explain what right-wing populism. Right-wing populism, to me, because I'm an old warhorse, isn't right-wing at all, because it's pro-gay and it's pro all this other weird stuff. So I don't see how it's right wing, but anyway, they call them. They're called right wing populists. They've done quite well all over Europe. Marine Le Pen, she's topped the polls in France. Viktor Orban, his Fidesz party, done very well in Hungary. Sadly, some of the friends of the Templars didn't do so well because they launched different new parties. Was it Jobbik? Jobbik were destroyed. Yeah. 100%. Jobbik, our old friends, who were hard right, and then they went all modern and liberal. They were destroyed. Idiots. And Salvini's League Nord has topped the polls in their countries as well, in Italy. So that's good news. But the worrying news is the biggest rise of everything was the Greens and the Liberals. Not the left wing. The Greens and the Liberals have done extremely well. So let's look at Britain, because obviously, you know, I know that a wee bit better. So how did the parties do in Great Britain? And I say Great Britain, not UK, because the seats for Northern Ireland only get started counting today. Who knows why? It's because you're Irish. So we don't know why, but it's ridiculous. So there was a new party launched 6 weeks ago by Nigel Farage, who used to run UKIP, but he left because they were bringing in people, undesirables, and Tommy Robinson and all this people, and then he ended up not getting in. So anyway, Nigel Farage, just as a figurehead, there's a couple of real smart businessmen behind that. They started a party 6 weeks ago, and it swept the board. Swept the board. So I'll give you the rundown. The Brexit Party, this is a new party led by Nigel Farage, 29 seats. The Lib Dems, who are usually nowhere, they came in second with 16. Labour, now remember Britain's a two-party country really, it's Labour and Conservatives, but Labour were put into third place, winning 10 seats. The Greens won 7 seats, that's the bean eaters and the tree huggers, you know, the people with the sandals and all that, totally mental. They've got 7 seats, God help us. The Conservatives, the actual government, the party that's in government in Britain at the moment, were relegated down to, was that 5th place? With 4 seats in the whole of the country. The Scottish National Party got 3. Plaid Cymru, which is a Welsh nationalist party, 1. Change UK, which was the breakaway lefty people and mixed Tories and Labour people, formed a new party to make sure we stayed in Europe. They got 0. And UKIP, the old so-called right-wing party, 0, because Brexit took over for them. But isn't it interesting that Change UK, that was a load of Conservative and Labour people left their parties and started this new one to make sure we stayed in Europe. And they said, the people will speak. Well, they have spoken, you get nothing. Go away. But these are the people who won't listen to the Brexit referendum either. They don't learn. And they're on last night saying, oh, we had a wonderful night. What's that woman's name that runs it? Evans. She's mad as that. She's as mad as that crazy woman in America. That mad woman in America that got elected recently. Aye, that's her, Heidi Allen. But who's that other lunatic in America? She's always saying mad things. She's kind of pretty girl, but she's crazy. Cortez. We've got our own Cortez in Britain. She's called Heidi Allen. She's as nutty as a fruit bat, mad as a box of frogs. So she's won nothing. And she's on TV saying, we're on the crest of a breakthrough. And this means nothing. They're no Democrats, these people. They're just no democratic. We had a vote in Britain. 17.5 million people said, we want to leave Europe, the EU. They wouldn't listen, so they formed their own party and said, watch this. We will go to the people and say, we want to stay in Europe. And they get nothing. Nothing at all. And they're still saying, doesn't mean anything. These people are not Democrats. They're not sane. I mean, they're just crazy people. So, anyway... So that's what happened. Massive surge in certain things. I mean, the Lib Dems were up 13%, Labour were down 11%, the Greens were up 4%, Conservatives were down almost 15%, SNP up slightly, the Welsh parties and so on. And it's very strange. The Scottish National Party and Plaid Cymru, who are supposedly a Welsh nationalist party, none of them are nationalists. They want out of Britain, but to be ruled by the EU. They're all socialists and hardcore leftists. So they're not nationalists as mean, you understand it. And their idea of a demographic winter in their countries is to bring in millions of immigrants. That's some attitude from a nationalist, eh? So don't ever think they're nationalists. They're not nationalists. I'm a nationalist. These people are not nationalists. It's ridiculous. But anyway, the other big news of the night, and people in Australia, Canada and America, you'll know this name, Tommy Robinson, or, to be correct, Stephen Yaxley Lennon. That's his real name. Tommy Robinson is the name of a football hooligan who died, and he adopted his name. Why did he do that? Does anybody know? No, I don't know either. No idea. No idea why you might call yourself after a football hooligan, but there we go. So, he had much fanfare. Yes, he was banned off social media and so on and so forth, but he was wall-to-wall in the newspapers, on every news report, because people were throwing milkshakes around him, which is very wrong. Shouldn't be doing it. But anyway, he had a massive exposure. Rebel media were backing him. Other people were backing him. And, millions of people were getting emails and all this stuff. And he was totally convinced that he was going to win. And if you remember, and I'm quite jubilant, a couple of days ago I made a video and I said, I'm going to put my neck on the line. I'm going to predict that Tommy Robinson won't win. Not only that, he'll be annihilated, squashed like a gnat. Well, he won in the country, in the Northwest District, 38,000 votes. That's just over 2%. 2%. And he lost his deposit, because you've got to get 5% to get your deposit. So he was absolutely slaughtered. And he was wall-to-wall in the media. And I predicted this. He even snuck away from the count. This is it, when you do the count, everybody's got to go up on the stage and face the music. And that's a bad show. Because, I've been in political parties before where we've been hammered. I think I got less. I think I got 1.5% once. But you don't sneak out the count. You stand up there and you take it in the chin. And people laugh at you. People mock you. That's part of the democratic process. If you're going to put yourself out there, you need to man up. And you shouldn't sneak away and no face the music. That's not a deal. And it's bad. It shows a very bad character. You should stand your ground and honour the people who did vote for you. So there's 38,000 people put their trust in this man, and he should have been on the stage representing them, and that's not a good thing. So why did it happen? Well, as I said last week, this would happen because there's a certain class of people, and I come from the slums, genuine slums, no heartbreak story, but I come from the slums, very poor. But the problem is, back in those days, you were poor because it was the way it was. My father worked, but we were still poor. And that's how it was, but we're all decent people, and the slums were filled with decent people back then. Now a lot of the slum areas are not decent people because anybody with any get up and go has got up and went. So we're left with this underclass, and they blame everybody for everything apart from themselves. They're sitting in the house all day smoking the cannabis. What's that strong stuff called? Skunks. They're smoking skunk. And they're sitting watching daft TV shows with a 60-inch plasma telly. Oh, aye. And their leather settee. Just back from their holiday to Benidorm or some other hideous package deal place. And they can't get a job because it's the Muslims' fault, or it's the blacks' fault, or it's the Scottish people's fault, or it's the English people's fault, or it's somebody's fault. It's always somebody's fault that these people aren't doing right. So they're drawn to people like Tommy Robinson. They're drawn to anybody who's saying, I'm with you, and it's not your fault, it's these immigrants that have come in, and now they're owning shops, and they're living in big houses, and they're driving Mercedes. How do you think they got them? I'll tell you how. Getting up out of their bed at 6 o'clock in the morning and working till 10 o'clock at night, day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out, not going on holidays, no smoking drugs, going to the boozers and spending all your money in ale. That's how they got to where they are. Look at the Vietnamese when they went to America. They're doing all right for themselves. Look at the Chinese when they came to Britain. They're doing all right for themselves. Look at the Indians when they came to Britain. They're doing all right for themselves. No trouble, no problem. And they're prospering. Yet there's millions of Brits on welfare, won't get off their fat arses and do anything. And all they do is blame other people. And any chancer, any snake oil guy comes along and says, oh, it's not your fault, it's their fault. Bang, we're supporting you. But here's the rub. Here's the fly in the ointment. Yes, they'll turn up to your rallies in their hundreds. And yes, they'll go on social media. And they will give you all the support. I will die for you, Tommy. I love you. I will die for you. But I won't vote for you. Half the time it's because they don't know how to vote, because they are utterly useless. They are just poor white trash by their own making. So they don't know how to vote. They've never voted. They don't even know what a voting station is, because they don't care. Because the welfare gives them money. Just hands them out money. And they're living in a free house. They've got free food, free beer, free cigarettes, free cannabis. Who cares? Why would you care about anything? And they're actually earning more money than people who are going out to work every day in normal, low-paid jobs. And these people support folk who tell them they're okay, it's somebody else's fault, but they'll never vote for you because they don't vote. They're useless. They don't vote. And that's what happened here. Tommy had thousands of people, in fact, hundreds of thousands of people pledging their undying loyalty and support to him. 38,000 actually voted for him. Out of how many? 2 or 3 million? Yeah, 2 or 3 million people. 38,000 actually voted for him. He probably spoke to him more than that in the street. So that's where we are, and that's what's happened to Tommy. Tommy's not very happy, but, look, my advice is to people who are internet stars. The real world of politics is for grown-ups. It's a lot different from Facebook or Twitter, which most of us are all banned from. But I've been in politics for 30 years. It's a very different world. You need to be professional, you need to be switched on, you need to have a campaign, you need to have a party machine and a campaigning machine. Not just a nice smile and a nice jacket on and wandering about waving to people and telling them, it's not your fault, it's their fault. Doesn't cut any ice. So anybody who thought that was going to work is a fool. But there's more fools about, because now people are saying the Brexit party's won, therefore we're going to get out of Europe. What's wrong with these people? They're European MPs. They've nothing to do with Parliament. They have not one single ounce of power to get us out of the EU. And I'm going to tell you another thing. These MPs now who have just won that on Brexit on an anti-EU ticket, they've just voted themselves into the very thing they're trying to get away from, which they'll earn about £20,000 a month. How many of them, even if they could, do you think are going to be banging down doors to take themselves away from their £20,000 a month salary? For the Americans, that's $30,000. UKIP has been in the European Parliament for 20 years, and all these guys were on 20 grand a month. How many times did you ever see UKIP? They had 23 MEPs. 23? How many times did you ever see UKIP MPs causing disruption in the European Parliament? How many? I think I've seen Nigel Farage. I think I've seen Jeffrey Bloom once or twice in the last 20 years saying anything. Because they're on 20 grand a month. Do you honestly think they're going to put themselves out a 20 grand a month job? And again, they have no power. The power to come out of Europe's done from the Westminster Parliament, not the EU. So it's a complete farce. And finally, more bad news. I know, I'm sorry to depress you today, but I'm fed up with us being taken for mugs. And I'm fed up with our people being mugs. Switch your brain on, for goodness sake. Boris Johnson is now going for the leadership of the Tory party since traitor May resigned. Well, she said she's resigning, but she's not gone yet, so who knows. Boris Johnson, let me tell you, look at this clip.
It's well known that Boris Johnson wavered over which side to support in the referendum. Just days before declaring he backed Brexit, Mr Johnson wrote a series of articles, not all intended for publication, setting out the conflicting arguments. Now, the Sunday Times has printed the column in which he made the case for Remain. In it, Mr Johnson said the UK should be intimately engaged with the EU. He suggested Brexit could lead to an economic shock or the breakup of the UK, and said access to the single market came with just a small membership fee, directly contradicting his public stance both during the referendum campaign and since becoming Foreign Secretary.
All right. That was a few weeks before the Brexit campaign started. And if you remember right, Boris Johnson was the head of Get Us Out of Europe campaign. But a few weeks ago, as you just seen in that clip, he was saying, no, we must stay in Europe. It's a terrible idea. And he was pro-EU, anti-Brexit. And then he became, within weeks, he had this road to Damascus moment, and he decided, no, we need to leave. What a load of baloney. And Boris Johnson saying he's going to get us out of Europe. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. But a guy who can change his mind in 2 or 3 weeks from one rigid position to another rigid position, in my opinion, he's a shyster, an absolute shyster. I wouldn't trust him to go for a pint of milk to the shop. So if he does win the Tory leadership, do not presume that he will get us out of Europe, because like everything else, money talks. And if it's profitable to these guys and they're promised something in 10 years' time, some nice cushy job, you'll find he may switch back again. So that's where we are in the UK. It's not good, it's terrible, it's ridiculous, and we also lost millions of men in various wars for our liberties and rights, and they're being trampled on right now all over this country, and it's terrible. And at least in America, people still have that sense of ownership of their country and ownership of their institutions. We don't have that in Britain. We lost that a long time ago. And people in America are proud of their war dead. In this country, you can hardly say anything about it. Your class is a right-wing, xenophobic, nationalist nutcase. Well, I don't care. I remember our war dead, because I wouldn't be sitting here if men hadn't sacrificed themselves for me. So again, on this Memorial Day Monday, I'll leave you with this, and I will leave you with a message from the Templars for the people who did give their lives. God bless America.
Memorial Day is about honoring the fallen, the heroes of America who have given the ultimate sacrifice in our defense and in defense of freedom.
Freedom is not free. People sacrifice their lives for the freedoms that we call free here in America. So to remember those is to honor those. Greater love has no one than this, than to lay one's life down for his friends.
We must remember and honor our fallen with overwhelming aloha, for they are our heroes.
Take time to understand what each of these plaques represent. Their lives, their families, the stories, the campaigns they fought in, Iwo Jima, Tinian, Guam, Midway, Afghanistan, Iraq. There are so many different campaigns, so many battles have been fought in defense of us.